Hey guys, ArchieLuxury on the Paul Pluta and the ArchieLuxury channel. Today guys, I want to talk about Lange Pump and Dump. Lange Pump and Dump. And before we talk about this Lange Pump and Dump, firstly I would like to do a quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing another Richemont product, my JJ LeCoultre Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso Grand Date. My JLC. Okay. Guys, let me tell you what's happened. In the last week or so, I've had a number of emails come in. And it concerns one of my favorite brands, Lange. Lange and Söhne. Lange and Söhne. And I've had a number of snooty-rooty people come to me and say, hey Arch, I've been offered a deal by a Lange dealer or by the boutique. Very interesting. Let's have a look at exactly what has occurred. So basically what has happened is Lange, they have a sports watch. It's called the Odysseus. The Odysseus. And I actually viewed this watch in Singapore a year or so ago. Actually a year ago. I found it to be a well-made steel sports. It's Richemont playing at its best. They said to Lange, create a steel sports watch. Needs to have a blue dial. It needs to be unique. It needs to fit that genre of cool. So Lange themselves, they're quite a small manufacturer. They produce quite a small number of watches, less than Patek. Hey Google, how many wristwatches does Lange produce in a year?
Here's the top search result.
Okie dokie, thank you. So how many does Lange produce in a year? That's a very, very, very good question. How many do they produce? Well, it's not that many. It's not that many. Lange annual production. Let's have a look here. Let's get the figures. Let's get it from Google. How many Lange makes a year? 5,000. Lange and Söhne has been a member of Richemont and only manufacture around 5,000 watches every year. Okay, so very small, very niche. Lange in the Richemont group is their kind of one of their sacred brands. So they release the Odysseus, and it's become a hard to get watch. It's 28,000 retail, and it's going on the secondary market for somewhere between 63 and 100,000 US dollars. Very clear supply and demand. It's like all this is close. So anyhow, a couple of fans have come to me with a very similar offer. They expressed some interest in a Lange Odysseus. This is the steel sports watch, as you would, because hey, if you could buy one for 28 and it's worth 60 or 160K for free. Very interesting. Now, this has happened to a couple people I know. Lange has got in touch with these guys and said, hey, do you want to see the new Lange? Come to a boutique. They had two on display, a white gold one, and the steel. Okay, obviously you come in, you get the Lange experience. Okay, beautiful. Can you buy one today? No, sir. No, you cannot. However, we are happy to supply one to you in 12 months' time. Put down a deposit and purchase another Lange today at retail. They basically want you to buy at least a $30,000 Lange. Whew. So let's get this right. So what they want you to do is you've got to commit to a $30,000 US Lange today. Okay. And then you put down a third deposit for a Lange Odysseus, and it'll be ready in 12 months, approximately up to 12 months time. And then, you know what? You pay the other 2/3, you walk out with your Lange, your Odysseus. Now the only problem is what happens if you're not the only idiot who the Lange boutique has offered this deal to. So Lange production, 5,000 a year. So let's just do the sums. Let's say hypothetically the first batch of Lange Odysseus's, they made 100. That was enough to get them out in the market, get them into every Lange dealer or boutique would have an Odysseus, maybe one or two extra for VIPs, get them out in the market, and just let it sit there. Then they had a few corporate events and They let it sit, very limited supply. Then you get the phone call. So this Lange's gone from 28,000 US dollars. You can see them on Chrono 24. They're selling in the UK 100,000 US smackaroonies. I'd like to make 70K, 72K. Yes, I would. Now, the only problem is, so what do? How do we pull these suckers in? We get them to buy one Lange at retail. Then we get them to pick the other one up. In the future, we get advance deposit. All real cool. If they renege and cancel, we can give them their money back. They've already bought one Lange at 30,000 US retail. What an amazing idea. What about if Lange produced 1,000 Odysseus's? Okay, so you've got a company that sells about 5,000. They put out 100 to start with. Put 100 out. Get these morons, the prices have gone crazy, get these morons greedy, get these morons lusting, they all lust what they can't have. They make 1,000 of them, pull the net tight, then dump 1,000 Odysseus's on the market. What would happen? Lange doesn't guarantee the resale value of this said piece. Lange doesn't guarantee the value of this one you bought at full whack. This could be the perfect way to do things. Very, very clever. Very, very clever. Very, 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 very Very, very, very clever. Have they done anything wrong? Not really. These greedy speculator investors, they think they can outsmart Richemont? I don't think so. So I gotta be honest with you. I think this is the way to go. This is how they play the game. Very clever. Very clever. And Richemont, the owners of Lange, they're not morons. They're not morons. This could be the ultimate sales tool. They're a corporate. You do the sums. So basically the Odysseus is 30,000, 28,000 US. They want you to buy a $30,000 Lange, so that's 60,000 US dollars. 60,000, say they get 1,000 at this, that's $60 million. $60 million. That plugs a few holes. Keeps the dealer train going. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. So I gotta tell you guys, it's very, very interesting. At the moment, I know the Australian Lange boutique, they've said to a guy who's a bit of a Lange guy, if you want to get an Odysseus, you had to have bought 3 Langes at the boutique. Yes, very, very nasty. And let me just tell you this, there's a bit of reality there. A good friend of mine recently bought a Lange and Söhne Grand Lange 1. 2017, I think it was. Pre-owned. 60,000 Australian dollars retail. He got it for a smidgen over 30 grand. Just over half. It's an amazing watch. Absolutely beautiful watch. I wouldn't like to pay 60,000 for it. It's not too bad at 30. It's every bit as good as a Patek. Every bit as good as a Patek. Every bit as good as a, you know, it's honestly, I can see 60,000 in it. But I'd rather buy it at 30. And I gotta tell you something as well. These guys in the Lange boutiques, I know one guy made an absolutely insulting offer on a friend of mine who had a platinum. I'm not going to tell you the model, but he basically lowballed. They know the true value of these watches. It's pretty mean. Lange's a great brand, but it just doesn't have the value retention of Patek. And I gotta tell you, don't ever think you can outjuice Richemont Group. They haven't done anything illegal, nothing wrong whatsoever, but let me tell you, if you think you're the only person who's had this offer from Lange, buy a $30,000 Lange and put down a third deposit and we'll supply an Odysseus in 12 months. If you think you're the only one who got this offer, you're either stupid or your ego is through the roof. Simple as that. And I got to tell you, how many watches does it take for the market to be flooded? Good question. I spoke to a guy I really like, John Reardon, probably the Patek expert, and I said to him, John, I've got a Patek 5035. It's the annual calendar, the first model of annual calendar Patek released. They invented the complication in 1996. I said, how many 5035s do you think they released? He said 3,000. So people say that model was made in too many numbers. What about if Lange, instead of flooding the market with 1,000, so they released 100 initially to get the demand right, then they're ready to dump 1,000 or 2,000 on the market. Bang! What do you think will happen? I wouldn't be taking punts. I wouldn't be speculating like that. At the end of the day, you cancel your order for your Odysseus when the market's crashed, and you've already bought one at full whack. What do they care? What do they care? So guys, tell me what you think, and if you've been offered this great deal by Lange, let me know. All I can say is it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of collectors. I'm ArchieLuxury, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi guys, ArchieLuxury, and who do I recommend in America? In America, who do I recommend for quality pre-owned wristwatches? David SW, David SW, David SW. Go to davidsw.com. He is the best, the greatest pre-owned dealer in all of the United States of America. David SW, David SW, David SW. Hey guys, ArchieLuxury. Who do I recommend for watches in Brisbane and Sydney? Vintage Watch Co. That's correct. Vintage Watch Co. in Brisbane Arcade in Brisbane and the Strand Arcade in Sydney. Vintage Watch Co. Brisbane and Sydney. Ronnie, I've known him since the late 90s. Ronnie is a top bloke. Luke is a great guy. Vintage Watch Co. That is who I recommend in Australia. Check out Vintage Watch Co. and the guys' amazing range of watches. They also do service and repairs. Vintage Watch Co. That is where the Pontiff goes. You know, some of my Pateks came from Vintage Watch Co. That's right, guys. Vintage Watch Co.